Hello and welcome to Ask Your Academic. Today's session will cover MSc Precision Medicine, and we're joined by some of our programme team today to answer all of your questions. So please use the chat box if you've got any questions to ask, and we've also got a load of questions that were submitted beforehand. We are recording this session, so please don't panic if you miss anything. We will share the link shortly afterwards for you to catch up in your own time. So we'll kick off with introductions from our panel. So Alessandro, do you want to kick us off?
Hello, everybody. My name is Alessandro, and I'm the deputy lead for precision medicine together with Dr. Pratna Claire, who is just sat here at my right. Please, Pratna.
Thanks, Ali. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining this session. I'm Pratna. Both of us are deputy leads, and we're both teaching fellows at the University of Glasgow.
Thank you. Melissa?
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa and I am the Programme Administrator for the Precision Medicine Programme.
And Carolyn?
Hi, good morning. Really nice to speak to you. My name's Dr. Caroline Loveridge and I'm the Director of the MSc Precision Medicine Programme. So as I say, really nice to be able to speak to you today.
Perfect, thank you. And can we start with just an overview of the programme, if that's okay? Carolyn, if you get your slides there.
Yes. So yeah, I thought I'll just share some slides, which hopefully will help answer some of the questions I'll just go through. So I'll start with an overview of the programme structure. So the Precision Medicine Programme, like all MSc programmes, is made up of 180 credits in total. And these are spread over taught courses, and we also have a project course. So students will complete a total of 120 credits of taught courses. You will take 60 credits in first semester and 50 credits in the second semester. But we have one course as well that runs across the first and second semesters. But anyway, I'll try and just explain that a little bit further. So in the first semester, we have Precision Genomics, which is a 20 credit course, and that's followed by Precision Diagnostics and Therapeutics. And then we have a laboratory skills course, Research Skills in Precision Medicine. Across the first and semesters, we have the World Changers Precision Medicine Seminar series. So here we have a series of talks from experts from the so-called triple helix of precision medicine. So that's from academia, the NHS, and leaders from industry. So that 10 credit course runs across semesters 1 and 2. In semester 2, there's the start of the semester is quite heavily focused on R programming. So you have omic data analysis and visualization using R for biologists and single cell omics, and that's also an R-based course. You then are able to choose from one of the 5 following optional courses, which are highlighted in blue here. So we have in vivo research skills, cancer microenvironment and biomarkers, biomedical image analysis with applications using AI and machine learning, complex disease genetics, and clinical data omic signatures and workflows using R for biologists. So you'll take one of those 5 courses highlighted in blue, and then you finish your top courses with fundamentals of experimental design and data analysis, and that's designed to help you with your project. Okay. Then the final element of the Masters is a 60 credit research project, which you will undertake over the summer period. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. So in terms of the delivery of teaching, we have a blended delivery format. The majority of teaching is face-to-face in person, but we do have some online sessions as well. So the lectures and seminars are mainly face-to-face. The majority are on the main campus. Some might be on the Garskud campus, but majority are on the main campus. And we also have some online sessions. We have tutorials that are there to support the lecture material, and these are either face-to-face or online. We have drop-in sessions such as question and answer sessions to help you with your summative assessments and allow you a formative opportunity to clarify concerns. We have practical laboratory sessions. So I mentioned the laboratory skills course, Research Skills in Precision Medicine. That takes place in university teaching labs. And we have also online resources and learning activities on Moodle to support your learning. So things like quizzes or links to other resources, or maybe even future learning courses, for example, to help support your learning. In terms of the types of assessment that we have on the programme, we have a variety of assessment with both formative and summative assessments. So for the summative assessment, we have essays, we have quite a lot of presentations. These are either oral presentations or poster presentations. Here, you'll either be working on, you'll present on your own or as part of a group. We have the lab report for the lab course. We have a debate in the Diagnostics and Therapeutics course. We have reflective portfolios. For your project, you will have to write a dissertation. We also have short answer questions where you have to critique generative AI output on a particular topic. We have annotated preparing critiques of papers. We have preparation of bioinformatics scripts and output for the R courses. And on one of the optional courses, there are written exams, but in general, it's coursework that we have as assessments. For formative opportunities, we have things like asking you to submit a draft of a plan for your summative assessments, like an essay outline. We have things like a wiki task. We also get you involved in peer review, where you'll review each other's work. And we have self-assessment and testing as well, as I've mentioned, with online quizzes. And we also have Q&A sessions to help you with your assessments. For projects, I'm sure you'll be very keen to hear a bit more detail about what happens with the projects. So these run in the summer period from May to August, so they last 12 weeks. We do offer external projects with NHS and partners from industry. We cannot guarantee to offer an external project for each student, but we do have a good range of external projects, as I say, with our collaborators, and they're a fantastic opportunity for students to really help support your employability skills. We do recognise that a lot of you might be wanting to progress towards a PhD following your Masters, and there we do offer internal projects with university research groups. And the types of projects we offer, be whether they're external or internal, we do have some wet lab projects. We cannot guarantee wet lab projects for all students, but we do have some wet lab projects. We also have dry investigative projects that require data analysis or computational work, or systematic style reviews of the literature. We announce projects in March, April time. So I hope that gives you a good overview of that. Are just to be quite upfront that during the project period, you are expected to work full-time hours, the equivalent of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or 35 hours a week during the project period. There can be some flexibility there in terms of when you do these hours. So particularly if it's students can work remotely on their project for some projects, or there might be hybrid options. But we do expect that you will work 35 hours a week on your projects. So that brings me to the end of the slides. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of. I'll stop sharing just now. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of what's involved with the programme. Have I missed anything, Pratna or Alessandro?
All good.
Thank you.
Perfect. I've been trying to tick off as I go what you've covered on my list of questions. You've covered quite a good few of them. In terms of the practical work, could you tell us a wee bit more about the skills that students will learn and what kind of labs they'll be involved with?
So in the Research Skills in Precision Medicine course, you'll be working primarily on two techniques, so that being Western blotting and quantitative PCR. So they're the two main techniques. the project really is where you would gain extra skills in working in a lab if you undertake a wet laboratory project. So again, projects will range in terms of what sort of skills you might be using, but they might involve things like cell culture, again, things like Western blot, PCR, or other maybe sort of cell-based assays.
You do get a little bit of cell culture in the lab course as well.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. And then in terms of the optional courses, do students need to start in September knowing what they want to do, or do they get a bit of time? Alessandro, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, you will have lots of time. You will have time till like November to decide. So you will be presented all the options and you can choose whatever you like.
That's good. So you don't have to rush into anything when you start off in September. And we've actually been asked, somebody submitted a question before, is prior coding experience with R required for the program?
No, we start from scratch. So just come as you are.
And just on that, is there anything that students can do to prepare for starting their studies in September? Is there any reading or anything they should do more generally?
No, so there's nothing specific that we would ask students to prepare before they start the programme. There's no harm in reading around the subject area. There's no harm in that, but there's nothing specific or set that we would say that students have to have done before they start the programme. A lot of our courses, so we are using very current up-to-date research, so a lot of the reading that we set is from journal articles. So there's not really like textbooks or anything like that we would suggest that you get, or there's nothing specific that you have to do, but there's no harm in doing some research and general reading in the subject area.
Perfect. Just get here nice and early and get yourself set up, ready to start, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a lot of different support services available for our students. Melissa, would you like to kind of touch on them just to highlight the different services that are available?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, Naomi, we do have quite a few different types of support services for students, and I would really encourage you to make use of them, or even get in touch with us to ask some more questions, either now or when you start on the programme, to see if any of them would be right for you. So the first one is the disability service, and this aims to support students that have a disability that might affect their ability to study. So they can offer various different adjustments, such as flexibility in deadlines, physical access, so making sure that rooms are accessible, extra time in exams, sort of various things like that. And it's all very tailored to what you need specifically. So if you do think that you would benefit from making use of the disability service, I would really encourage you to get booked in with an appointment as soon as you come here. Appointments do book up quite quickly, so if you do think it would benefit you, then it would be great to book yourself in. But we're happy to answer any questions about that. We also have sort of general wellbeing support. So we have a student support officer in the graduate school who only works within MVLS. So he has kind of more specific knowledge about the college in general. He's really, really nice. So he can help with things like finances, kind of well-being support. So if you need to talk to counselling services, etc. Just anything that you're really worried about, either academic or non-academic, he can definitely give some advice, and he can often help you contact other support services if you need them on your behalf, which is really helpful. So he runs appointments both in person and online. He has a booking system that I would be happy to send you once you start on the programme. You don't have to contact him in advance. You can just book in. There's no sort of time commitment either. If you book in for one session, you don't have to then book multiple sessions. So if you meet with him once and decide that you don't want to meet with him again, there's no pressure. So I would definitely recommend getting in touch with him if you have any sort of wellbeing concerns. So I think those are kind of the two main ones, but we also have kind of more general wide-ranging things like student learning development, which are really good for academic writing skills, if that's something that you struggle with. They also do sort of various things about plagiarism and how to avoid that, which is very important, and especially how to use AI responsibly. And the university also has kind of general wellbeing advice too. And again, we're very happy to talk about the different support services and send you links to any of them if you feel like you would make use of them.
Thank you. I think that's something, isn't it? If there is an issue, just ask, because a lot of the time there is some support there to help, and the staff are brilliant at just pointing you in the right direction. I know your team, Melissa. I'm constantly asking these things, and these are so helpful. So yeah, definitely don't be scared to ask, and the help will be there for you. I think one of the other questions we've had is about the graduate outcomes and what our students tend to go on to do after the MSc. Could you give us a wee bit more information on that?
Yeah. So we find that our students will go into a range of employment after they've completed the programme. So I mentioned the triple helix of precision medicine. So that really is about links between academia, the NHS and industry. So we do have students that have gone on to towards PhDs. We do have students who have gone on to take jobs with industry. So, and we also have students who've gone on to work in the health service, for example, as clinical scientists. We do also have some other careers. Medical writing would be another one. So we have good students that have gone into that kind of area as well. But I would say the mainstream are either going on towards PhDs, working in industry, or the NHS as clinical scientists would be the main ones. Prarthana, Ali, I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
No, I think you covered most of the things. I would say that the advantage of this program is also being in between computational and wet lab biologists. So that is an advantage, and that can be used to sell your profile, because you will be able to do both things, being able to be in a lab as well as do your computational analysis.
Oh, fab. That's a really nice sell, isn't it? That you've got the both sets of skills, and depending on what your preferences might lead you to a different path. Fab. I think that's all the questions that we've had, and there's none that have popped up in the chat box. I don't know if anybody's got anything that we've not covered that you'd like to add or elaborate on, or if we're quite happy. I can't think of anything we've not talked about.
There's maybe one thing that I had covered that I think was linked to one of the questions, which is about the amount of time that you might be on campus for your classes. So generally, so I'll use a 20 credit course as an example. So with a 20 credit course, that would usually run over 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks. And there would usually be 20 hours of teaching time. So you will not be having classes 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So as I say, generally we have for a 20 credit course, there would be 20 hours of teaching time over a course of 4 to 5 weeks, to give you some kind of idea of how often you might be. So quite often you might say be on campus, maybe say just for a morning or later in the day. So as I say, you wouldn't be in all day 5 days a week.
Perfect. Just on that then, if it's 20 hours maybe per 20 credits, that's not all the work that students will be doing. How much self-study is kind of expected out with that time?
Yeah, so for a 20 credit course, as an example, we would expect 200 hours in total. So that includes guided well, self-study. So at master's level, yeah, we do expect there's quite a high level of self-directed study.
Well, that's quite a lot, isn't it? I think that is a real difference then between undergraduate and postgraduate, isn't it? That you're doing the reading, more reading yourself and in your own time. So it does need that element of motivation, doesn't it? Doesn't it, to like do your work? You've not got someone telling you what to do. Do you have any top tips for, sorry, Pratna?
Oh no, I was just going to say it might sound like a scary number, but keep in mind that's spread over a long period of time. And of course, if you have any concerns about keeping on top of workload, that's what we are all here for. So we also are your advisors of study. So if you have issues where you feel like you're not on top of your academic progression, we have meetings with you and we help advise you about different options you can take to make sure that you're on track with progression. So I would say if you have concerns, just come to us early from the start so that we can help you as best as we can.
Yeah, I think that's just general advice, isn't it, for your full 12 months. If you are struggling with anything, make it known, just the earlier the better, I suppose, because that work does quickly add up, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I think that's probably a nice place to wrap up. If you need support, ask for it and we'll help you and steer you in the right direction. Well, thanks very much to our panel for taking time out of your day. I know how busy you all are, so it's been really nice to hear all about the programme. Hopefully those watching have found that really helpful. If you do have any further questions, please don't panic. You've not missed your chance to ask your questions. There's an email address on the programme webpage, so if you drop us a note, we can pick up with you and help you with your questions. And hopefully we'll see you all come September time. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.